Alright, hello everyone. My name is Carl Morella. I'm going to be talking to you about Olympic lifting and some of the benefits of Olympic lifting. First, I just want to go over some general knowledge about Olympic lifting. Olympic lifting is really like any other lifting, like doing a bench press, doing a curl, doing any other sorts of exercise. You need to start slowly, and you obviously can't go heavy and crazy like you want to, but you need to get the form down and do the movements correctly, or else there is that possibility of getting hurt. Because we've all seen videos of people doing Olympic lifts and those Olympians kind of throwing their shoulder out or collapsing under the bar and all sorts of things like that. Those guys are doing a lot heavier weights and they're competing in events. This is just for basic getting in better shape and kind of getting into Olympic lifting in general. To start out, ideally you would want to have a personal trainer or a coach as far as Olympic lifting is concerned that is versed in the topic and is good at the lifts, essentially. Like I said before, you want to use light weights when you're doing these lifts, and the two lifts that are actually considered Olympic lifts are the clean and jerk and the power snatch. These are just the core lifts. There's a lot of other lifts that go into them, and they're big movements, so there's lots of different parts to them. But as a whole, the clean and jerk and the power snatch are the two only recognized Olympic lifts. Like I said, starting light, you want to just be safe because there is a chance of getting hurt, but Olympic lifting doesn't have any more chance of you getting hurt than you dropping the bar on your chest or whatever when you're bench pressing or any other things like that. As long as you're doing it in moderation, you don't have too much to worry about. And I'm going to show you some videos of the form for clean and jerk here in slow motion. Mute this. Okay. As you can see, when you're starting here, full screen, you're going to start in a deadlift type of position, keeping the weight close to your shins and pulling up with the weight. You're using your quads, your hamstrings, your hips, and your back to pull the weight up in this first part, as you can see here. And you're going to bring the weight up along your thighs, and then you're going to have to explode with your shoulders to bring the weight up. As you can see, he's pulling up with his traps and shoulders and exploding up. It's a big, violent movement trying to work on explosion. And then next part is going into the jerk. You have to, after you catch the weight in a full squat, obviously using those legs and stabilizing and everything, using all those muscles, you go from this front squat, which is all the way down, and into the jerk, which is using your shoulders to press the weight up, but you're kind of doing a split stance where you're coming from here and pushing the weight up and moving your legs out, and you'll see when he does it, his legs split apart to try and catch the weight, and you have to stabilize it with your whole entire shoulder girdle. Very big movement, powerful. And obviously he's doing a heck of a lot of weight, so it looks a little more intense than if you were just to be starting out. And then you have to catch yourself and hold the weight up for it to be a complete rep. As you can see, if you were to do lots of reps of this, it would be a very, very tiring type of movement. Okay, and now I'm going to go into the power snatch, which is the other movement. This is just taking the bar from that same deadlift type of position, but your hands are out wider, and you're going to pretty much in a magical way take the bar from all the way down on the ground and pop it up over your head. This video gives you a really good example of kind of how intense it is and how low you need to get and all the upper body strength that is involved with this lift. And it's like the last one, starting from that deadlift, pulling with those legs and that back and those hips to create some of that explosion. And this is a CrossFitter who's doing 285 pounds, which is an absolutely exorbitant amount of weight. You can see that same explosion from the last lift, but magic happens and it gets up over his head. And he's in a very full, it's called a catch, and then you have to stand up with it, obviously. This puts a lot of pressure on your shoulders, your traps, all those muscles inside of your shoulder girdle, and it really is a huge movement to build explosion and power. It's very, very difficult to master, and this is the one where you see a lot of people having those injuries with the shoulders popping out and just getting crumbled under the weight and things like that. So this is one obviously we need to be very careful, but I mean, if you're able to manage it, it builds a lot of explosion. It's a really, really good lift. I just like this video because when he goes under it, it's pretty insane to watch him catch it. Alright. So those are the two lifts for Olympic lifting. Obviously you can see that there's a deadlift involved, a high pull, a shoulder press, all sorts of other different things that are involved. Obviously some benefits. Here we have working all sorts of different muscle groups because of just how big the lift is. In a very, very few exercises, it gives you a lot of work there. Total body movement. This is all you're going to be doing. Everything goes in line, so you're going to just be using a lot of different muscles. Building explosion and improving athleticism. The studies that I looked up showed that the difference between just traditional weightlifting versus Olympic weightlifting. They tested guys, 32 males on their vertical jump and some like 10 meter dashes, 20 meter dashes, things like that, and their speed and their height on those. And then they had them follow a traditional weightlifting program for 4 weeks, and then the other group followed the Olympic lifting program. And inside of that time, the traditional weightlifting group increased their vertical and their speed by about 9%. And in the Olympic lifting group, they increased theirs by about 40%, or 43%. So there's a very big difference from traditional isolation lifting, where you're just doing your bench, your squat, your lunges, things like that, versus these explosive Olympic movements that are going to help improve athleticism and improve your overall performance on the field or whatever it may be. And then like the underused muscle groups in a unique way. What I mean by this is that the shoulder girdle and things like that, working in tandem with your legs and that explosion, is not normally worked. You do a squat, you can do all those other lifts and shoulder presses and things, but having to connect all of that together takes a lot more work, and your muscles aren't necessarily used to doing these types of movements, so it's kind of a shock to the system. More benefits are your heart rate gets up quickly. Like I've been harping on, this is a total body movement with a lot of explosion, and you don't need to do a ton of reps and things like that to really get your heart rate up and really get a good workout in. Most of the time, if you're just doing an Olympic lifting session that's not paired with any other traditional type of lifts, it's going to take you less than an hour to really get that full workout in. And then obviously, since you're using so many different muscles, you're going to be improving your lifts all around, as far as squat, clean shoulder presses, and not the clean, sorry, deadlift, and things like that are going to improve because of the intensity of these workouts and these lifts and how well they work your muscles. Some type of Olympic lifting workouts that are popular are very basic, but they're extremely difficult, like I said, with getting your heart rate up and working so many different muscles. A lot of guys like to do a 5-4-3-2-1 method, where you're taking percentages of your maxes and doing those percentages for 5 reps, 4 reps, 3 reps, and so on. And as you can see from how big in the video, how big those movements were, doing 5 reps of that, especially at a high percentage of your max, is really going to get those muscles stimulated, and you're going to be getting a really good workout. And obviously the 10 by 1, if you're working super hard and you're pretty close, like 95% of your max, you're doing 10 sets of 1, you're probably not going to be able to get all those reps, or at least at that high weight that you want. You're going to need to drop down, and you're really going to be working your butt off to try and get those weights up. And obviously with the 5 by 2 and 5 by 3, same sort of principle. You just want to work as hard as you can, but they're just very good lifts for just generally everything. And does anyone have any questions about the presentation?
I did not realize that Olympic lifting was only these two. Is it only these two, or are you just focusing on these
Nope,
two?
these are the only two that are considered Olympic lifts.
Huh.
If you were to watch the Olympics, there's the clean and jerk, and then there's the power snatch. And then, but obviously, as far as they're concerned, there is high pulls and there is a hang clean that's a big one for football players, basketball players, because it does build explosion, but it's just not doing it to that extent. It's more I guess, isolated for whatever it may be. But a lot of Olympic lifting programs, if you do include all the different sort of high pulls and high pulls with a kick, shrugs, all these different things, they take a little bit longer, but that's more if you're really actually into Olympic lifting. If you're just trying to do basic stuff and get into the gym, get your hour in and really work hard, then doing something like the 10x1 or the 5x3 is going to be sufficient for what you need to do. But there are a lot of other movements that go into Olympic lifting.
Interesting. No question.
Yes.
So you talked about the benefits of Olympic lifting, but what are some negatives to that? I mean, looking at the form, clearly this isn't for everybody.
Right. That's really the drawback behind it. Like I said, obviously you got to go light and you got to do that. And if you don't have a coach, getting into Olympic lifting can be kind of difficult because one, you're going to be a little I guess, confused about what to do. You don't know if you're doing it right. You don't want to be at the gym judged by everyone or whatever it may be. But, I mean, if you're curious enough about it, you can obviously go online, look up things. Like the videos I showed you, that's how I got into a lot of critiquing my own form and things like that, recording myself doing different different lifts, and then comparing them to what I see online and what I've been taught throughout the years, because I've been doing it since I started high school because I was a football player. So Olympic lifting was a pretty big part of what we did. But if you were just getting into it, obviously you got to start light so you don't get hurt, like some of the crazy injuries that everybody has seen. But I mean, trying to find a coach or a personal trainer is the best way to go. But looking up online, looking up form, and then critiquing yourself is a good way to go about it also.
You spend a lot of time in the gym yourself. Do you see people doing these two exercises very often?
No.
Okay.
These are the only time that I ever see it is when I'm downstairs and there's the football team lifting or the basketball team lifting, because these lifts are not very common at all, especially if you don't have the bouncy weights and things like that. You don't want to be slamming around the metal weights.
That's right.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Good job.